Should versus could. How does this feel for you? You should have done this, you should have done that, you should have done it that way. How does that go down for you when someone tells you you should or shouldn't have done something? How does it feel for you? Some people find they get a little bit rattled, a little bit annoyed. And hey, if it just washes over you, it's no problem. Fine, just hear me out and have a play with this for a moment. Should is derived from a modal operator of necessity. So it actually presumes that when someone says you should do something, it means what you're currently doing is wrong, black or white. Should is an imperative. You must, you ought to. What if you were to consider swapping the word should for could? So in your mind, just have a think about, you should have done this, you should do that, and just swap it for, you could have done this, and you could do that. What are you noticing now? You see, could is a modal operator out of possibility. So it's giving you options, it's giving you choices. The moment we become conscious of this one word shift, it's surprising the impact you can have on yourself and other people. It's really easy for us to come from an internal point of view when we're discussing something. If we think we know best, we're like, well, you should have done it that way. And people often are asking for advice. And shoulds come into play quite a bit. If, however, it's a situation where you want to put your point across and it's very important that someone else, makes a shift or a change, just have a play with the word could instead. Because the moment you use the word could, you're bringing down somebody's barriers, somebody's subconscious stress response. When we use the word should, there is an element, whether we're conscious of it or not, there is an element of unconscious rule structures. Okay, so it can cause people to spin out a little bit. It can go deep on levels, or it can just be superficial. Whatever the level, it does cause people to shut down a bit. So if you bring in the word could instead, you're actually opening the situation up to create not only more choices and possibilities, you're also inviting their system in a physiological way to relax a bit, to drop its guard, because you're giving them information to decide for themselves. And when we have opportunities to decide for ourselves, then we have to think. We want to think, more to the point. So when we want to do something, it has a really good physiological shift, like our blood flow goes from a sort of stress response, monkey mind, all the way to our prefrontal lobes, where we think logically, creatively, socially. So just by changing your vocabulary, you can help to not only enrich your own life, but help to soften any stress for somebody else and allow them to open up to greater ways of thinking, exploring their mind and their options and their choices so much more. Don't take my word for it. Go home and have a play or use it with somebody. So you could just have a think about saying to someone, right, you should do this, you should do that. And just watch their faces. Just observe what's going on. And then have a play again with could. You could do this, you could do that. And notice the differences. Watch for people's body language, the tension in the jaw, the shoulder drops, even just sitting back and when their eyes start to flow around, perhaps that's their way of bringing in information so that they can begin to decide for themselves. Have a play, let me know what you think.